Hi, welcome to this video which takes you through the Scaffold study system. Hopefully this will make your life easier as you prepare for exams. The video is intended to be watched alongside the blog post regarding the Scaffold study system because there's some additional detail in that blog, so please read it if you haven't already. So, do you find study hard? I know I did when I was doing the HSC. And it's always a bit hard to work out what's the best way to prepare. Do you just read and reread your notes? Do you do lots of practice? Do you do a bit of both? And if you don't have a really clear system, you tend to end up wasting time. And that's what you don't want to do before exams. So I was in that boat when I was preparing for my HSC, and then I came across a system that helped me structure my study. And although it didn't have a name, because I was making it up as I went, I've eventually come to call it the Scaffold study system. And strangely, I've worked out that many of the things I was intuitively doing make good scientific sense. And when I went to uni and afterwards and studied psychology, I worked out that many of the practices are backed by good science. So that's enough teasing. Let's get to what it actually is. So we've called it the Scaffold study system. A scaffold is the structure that you build around something until that building is ready to stand on its own. And that really is the purpose of the Scaffold study system. It's to give you some structure to your study until you're able to memorize and recall all the content on your own without any prompts. Now, that sounds really hard because you go, well, hang on, I can't memorize. Memorizing's not for me. It's for those special people with photographic memories. Well, all of that's rubbish because in fact, most people can memorize if they follow a set system. And it's not rocket science. It just takes a bit of time, which is why most people don't do it, because they're cramming in the few weeks before the exam. So the system itself has 5 stages. And those stages are as follows. So the first is prepare study notes. And you go, duh. Of course you need to prepare study notes because otherwise what are you actually studying? It's not effective to just read your class notes. It's not effective to read textbooks. It's just not going to be time efficient. You need to prepare summary notes. This will have a great effect on you as well because as you start to prepare summaries, you've got to ask yourself, well, what really is important? What do I need to know? And then you condense that. The study notes should be no more than 10 pages per topic. So if I was doing business studies, my finance topic study note shouldn't be more than 10 pages. And you can apply that to other subjects as well. Your study notes might look something like this. They'll have coloured headings, they might have subheadings, and they won't be prose heavy, meaning lots and lots of paragraph blocks. Instead, what they'll have are dot points. And that's actually really important for the Scaffold system for the reasons that will become apparent shortly. So once you've prepared your study notes, you now need to prepare what we call a scaffold summary. So the scaffold summary is a summary of your summary. It looks pretty much like this. So on the left side, we have the summary notes. You can see the heading, the subheading, the dot points. Then on the right side, we have our scaffold summary. So I have my heading, which tells me which topic it is. I have a subheading, which tells me the particular syllabus point I'm addressing. And then I've simply got lines where I go through the content, picking up the subheadings and putting next to it a number. The number is the number of dot points under that heading. So you can see there is on the right side an overview and it has one main dot point. And so on the right side, I've got overview 1. Then there's a heading financial institutions. It's got 7 dot points. So on the right side, scaffold summary, I've got financial institutions and the number. And you go through your entire 10 pages worth of summary notes to prepare that simple scaffold. The scaffold will probably end up being, with some line spacing, etc., 1 to 2 pages at the most, because all it is picking up your headings and putting a number next to it. Now, once you've done that, you commence reading your summary notes. Now, you'll do that for about 2 to 3 days, solid. Just reading, rereading, taking appropriate breaks, and the blog post talks about how to make sure you get effective study blocks. But for our purposes, you're going to spend a few days up to a week of just familiarizing yourself with your notes so that nothing in there is confusing, nothing's a surprise, and once you're at that point where you go, yes, I know that, then you can move on. And that moving on takes us to our 4th stage, which is review and recall practice. So this is where we start getting really actively engaged in the study. We're not just reading it and getting bored, we're actually engaging with the content. So what we do is we read a section, so a heading with the dot points under it. Then we cover that page with our scaffold document. And we look at the section we were doing, so financial influences, and we go, how many points were there? 7, because the scaffold tells us, and these were the points, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We try and do it off the top of our head. Then we uncover the page and we have a look at it on the notes. Did I get it all right? Did I miss anything? Then if you did have a problem, and by problem I mean if you've not recalled at least 80%, then you cover it again and test yourself one more time, then you move on. You don't keep doing it until each part is perfect, because you're going to be doing this quite a lot, so you don't need to be 100% right each time, but you do need to be at least 80% right. Okay, so we're going to constantly review, cover, recall it, uncover, check, and then move on through our notes. Now, we will do that initially daily for each topic, and again using appropriate time blocks, but we're going to do that daily for up to a week or 2. And then you'll find something magical starts happening by the end of this period, and it's different for each person. But by the end of the period, you will be almost able to look at your scaffold document and recall the notes off the top of your head by going, okay, influences, financial institutions, there were 7 of them, they were 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then you'll look at the notes and go, okay, yeah, that's right. When you're at that point, you're going to be able to move your practice to once every 3 days. And then once you're getting comfortable with that and you're still getting at least 80% right, you're going to then move to weekly intervals. And then once you've hit the weekly intervals, you're just going to keep practicing at weekly intervals until your exams come. Now, once you've hit at least the 3-day interval, you can also introduce a new element to your recall practice, and we call this active recall. So this is where instead of using your review and your scaffold, you sit down and you practice a question, either a past paper or an exemplar question which has been written either in a textbook or in study guides, etc. And you do it in exam conditions. Now this is the most effective type of study practice because you've got no scaffold anymore. The scaffold's been taken away. And you are testing yourself in exam conditions, particularly the time pressure, which adds a little bit of stress to it. Now, it's in this environment that you'll find out whether your review and recall practice has been highly effective. If not, just double back down on it. But if it is, it then frees you up to begin to look at other ways to improve your marks. And that includes really deconstructing the way you write and making sure you're nailing all the syllabus points. So that's the scaffold study system. I know it worked for me. It's what allowed me to score the very high marks I got in the HSC, and I can guarantee you it's not because I'm brilliant. It's because I just put the time in and used a very structured, methodical process. I know you can do it as well, so good luck in your HSC. All right, thanks for watching our video. Hopefully it really helps you with that exam preparation. In the meantime, we've got 2 offers for current Year 12 students to help them prepare for the upcoming trials and HSC. The first is the offer of a free trial. Take a lesson at our online Bankstown or Parramatta locations to see if we can help you with your exam preparation. Once you've had that trial, tell our friendly support team that you'd like to enrol and that you've watched the YouTube video, and they'll take 10% off the cost of the enrolment. That's just our way of helping make it easier for you to prepare for your exams and, more importantly, to maximise